Welcome to the Hospitality Maverick podcast with me, Michael Tingsar. We at Hospitality Mavericks are here to inspire leaders to create hot-selling and profitable businesses from the inside out, the kind that both employees and customers love and support. Thanks to BizSimply for sponsoring this episode as our show partner. And BizSimply is the all-in-one HR, workforce management, rota and operations software designed and built by hospitality experts to make every shift run like clockwork. And we join forces to help the industry to find new ways to become even more innovative in how we lead our people, how we operate, to how we grow our businesses, to how we serve our customers. Together we want to share strategies and tools that can make the industry thrive long term, not just survive.
I often liken it to being a little bit like the leader of the orchestra. You're not a professional in any of those realms with which you deal, be it the first violins or the brass section. And if you liken that to business, where you're dealing with PR companies and design and all the different elements of your purpose and your brand, then I get a great sense of joy of unleashing that expertise that comes from other people. As long as I feel a innate sense of confidence in that agency or team that I'm working with, then I am very happy to take their steer and to take their lead. And I think, as I said, as a leader of the orchestra, you provide the heartbeat and the rhythm and the reason for being there in the first place. And then you bring all those elements together and allow their expertise to flourish.
This is Pix Ashworth, the founder of sustainable bath and body brand Land and Water, and the director of the Watergate Hotel in Cornwall, UK. And when I started talking with Pix before the interview, we were very quickly that this conversation was all about for her to share how they have used their deep and clear purpose to build just not one business, but 3 businesses. And Pix shares how they over the years have built their brands on the foundation of respect for the sea and land, as well as delivering a high level of hospitality in everything they do. She also shares the power of having a strong 10-year vision connected with a yearly planning cycle that support the journey of achieving that vision. You will get insights into how you also can grow a business without you have to compromise on your values and beliefs. She also shares their learnings of becoming a B Corp and how this have elevated the way they are running their businesses. We also discussed the constant battle of work-life balance as an entrepreneur and business owner when you are on the pursuit of mastery in everything you do. Before you tune in, please do not miss out on the new free white paper we have developed in cooperation with BizSimply. And we take a deep dive in this white paper, what Maverick leaders know and do. We call it the 6 tenets of Agile hospitality. 6 tenets every leader needs to survive and thrive in the new era of hospitality. Click the link in the show notes and get your free copy. Now it's over to Pix. I'm excited for our conversation today because we're going to be talking something that I'm probably very geeky about, and you've heard it many times on the show. It's going to be about, in principle, about purpose or direction, as I also call it, and what lies under that, and actually how you can use that actually just not to build one business, but maybe build a number of different businesses and brands where there's a link between them and a reason why they exist, and also a very interesting way to grow your business instead of just opening X amount of hotels, restaurants, or whatever kind of businesses. And for that, we have a great guest. So welcome to the show, Pix. It's a great pleasure to have you here.
Thank you so much, Michael. It's fab to be here. Thank you for having me.
I would love for the people out there just to hear a bit about your story, like the milestone and how you got involved in hospitality, how you got involved in the lifestyle brand and the other businesses that you were involved in, and how it all came around.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I had an unusual entry into the hospitality industry in that I married into it. It wasn't predestined. I grew up in Sussex in the countryside, and I worked after university in London and then in Paris. And I then, Will and I, my husband, we'd been commuting between Cornwall and Paris for 2 years. And he has his own family business in the hotel industry. And I'd been working in financial services in London and in Paris, and decided to move to Cornwall in 2004. So you could say that that was a fairly formative move to my career. And landing in Cornwall in 2004, whilst it certainly wasn't the dark ages, is quite different to now in terms of connectivity. So I started working with Will straight away in the hotel. And so I didn't grow up going to hotels and restaurants very much, had fairly old-fashioned upbringing like that. So, but it is such a tangible business that it was very easy to be interested in straight away. And there was just a lot to learn.
Yeah, and then over the years, you develop the hotel business, and then people will go online and check out afterwards, find out that this is a very beautiful hotel in a very very beautiful location in Cornwall, straight out to the water. I was like, you can't get
Well, you're quite
you
right.
can't get closer. I think you're almost in the water when if the pictures are true. And then also a lifestyle brand which you worked on recently. Can you talk a bit more about that, and also maybe the letting business that's developed out of the hospitality business?
Yes, and you're absolutely right to start with the fact that we're practically in the water, and we very much talk about that as that's what we owe all our brand to as a starting place to its location. So Watergate Bay Hotel on the north coast of Cornwall. It's we have 70 to 80 bedrooms in the hotel. And it's our take on a modern beach holiday, and that owes it all to location. And it's about finding that balance between how you want to feel to get the best out of your holiday, whether that's paddling out to catch the next wave, or maybe it's finding a quiet corner and curling up with a book. It may be walking in a crisp, brisk air, or coming in, having a warming sauna, a lovely meal with friends and family. So it's about finding that sweet spot. And we talk a lot about the balance of life. We've talked about this for 20 years. We're not using new words. We talk about being active, getting amongst the elements, and that's really the springboard for everything we do. Eating and drinking well, spoiling yourself a little, chilling out, getting cozy, and most of all, having a good time. And that really is our why. A lot of businesses talk about why they are, what's their purpose. That's our why, and that's the root of everything. And from that, it became very clear to us. It was easy to define what we wanted to create from that. So we had our why that I've just described, and our what is very much, we talk about ourselves as a ski resort on a beach, with a progressive and adaptive outlook, and that's kind of key as well. And so that purpose and that vision has extended towards the other two businesses that I've worked with since I've arrived in Cornwall. And that first one that you mentioned, our self-catering letting agency, that's called Beach Retreats. And that was my first project here in Cornwall when I arrived in 2004, found my feet for a few months, and then we launched in 2005. We launched Beach Retreats as a self-catering letting agency, marketing private owners' properties, and taking those same principles of this playground, this incredible natural outdoor playground that we have here in Cornwall, and then finding properties with beautifully put together with interiors and design, but where there's an active lifestyle that goes with it, with great restaurants and places to stay, and where everybody can find their own balance. So that was it. We had a few of our own self-catering properties within the business, and we then extended that, and that's a separate limited company within our stable of brands today, run by somebody far more talented than I am. And we have about 300 properties that we let now in that business. And then the third one that you mentioned is Land and Water. Land and Water builds on that same idea, and Land and Water talks a lot about how time outside makes us feel better inside. So that's very much our why. Again, drawing on our heritage and our what we do. Land and Water are natural bath and body products that are designed to recreate that fresh skin invigoration that we feel on the shoreline, and that sense of exhilaration and calm.
Very interesting when I hear you talk, Pix. You also is like that. There's like this reconnection with nature, which is in principle water and land, in very big terms. It's not that simple. I know that people tell me, but it's like it's very interesting that you build a brand on that purpose, actually, of reconnecting people with that and the power of that does for themselves, but also when you understand that this is what we need to take care of, I guess, and protect. That's like really powerful. How has that been for you to actually articulate that and make sure that you live that, because you need then to create brands that really takes that into account and what they do on a daily level in the business?
Yeah, so in terms of I think what you're asking me is to articulate how we communicate, how we take care of that environment on which we've built our brands, and of course that's ever more important, and there's no doubt about that, and finding ways to do that becomes increasingly difficult, because a word that's bandied around a lot is greenwashing, and we have to be absolutely sure that we are clear and transparent in what we're doing. In terms of Watergate Bay and Beach Streets, because they are more established businesses, absolutely, we know if you cut through those businesses, there's always been that absolute drive towards my husband has worked very hard on this, on the kind of systems we put in terms of combined heat and power systems that provide we extract all the heat from our kitchens and then that's reused as a source of power, etc. So it's all there, but we absolutely have to communicate it. And the key tool that we're looking at to be able to communicate it and to test and assess ourselves and develop ever more rigor is B Corp, which I'm sure you've heard of, and we're challenging ourselves. We've got our assessment is prepared and put forward. So we hope very much to get B Corp accreditation soon. And I'm sure you know that isn't just about the environment. It measures a company's social and environmental impact in its entirety. So not only do we have to demonstrate really high social and environmental performance, we also have to make a legal commitment and to reach certain standards for all our stakeholders, not just our shareholders. And so, that's customers, suppliers, the community, our staff. And also, really importantly, as I started out at the start of this little theme, is talking about transparency, exhibiting transparency. And as a B Corp business, you agree to have your information publicly displayed on the B Corp website, and anybody can go on and see how you performed in achieving your accreditation. So that is absolutely fundamental to us communicating. With Land and Water's much younger brand, and so it was very obvious to us from the beginning. There are lots of disadvantages, let's say, although often ultimately they're positives, but there are lots of disadvantages to being a small brand. But one of the advantages of being a young small brand is you can be so nimble and light on your feet. So if we need to change our componentry, etc., to keep up with the latest technologies that allow us to be that bit more sustainable, then it's much easier for us to do than a much bigger international brand. But that said, we came at a time when it was absolutely clear to us to be environmentally sustainable from the start. So all our products are 100% vegan. All our plastic is 100% post-consumer recycled plastic. All our ingredients are natural and ethically sourced. We have, and we're always thinking about how we encourage our customers to use refills and things like that. So we provide the refills that we use ourselves in hospitality. to make those available for domestic use as well.
Like two questions that comes out of all the things you said for me is like, again, because the B Corp, like lots of companies are considering that, and I think lots of the people listening to the show here either on the journey or considering it. What has been like your main learnings about your own business? Because I've been through B Corp with another business as well, and it's like I was quite surprised about it was not so much of, passing the line is important and get the sticker, but it's more like these reflection and conversation it brings up, I thought. But and also some deep learnings about how we did things or how we should do things, and how actually we didn't do enough on some areas. I don't know what your learnings has been going through that as a business owner with the team.
Yeah, I think there's two learnings. One is that you have to find your way. There's no right answer to everything that you do, and you have to simply do the best you can. No two scientists agree on the best the best recycled plastic to use. Is glass better than plastic? Is plastic better than glass? And you have to choose what's right for you, what you're able to do at that moment. So that's very key. And I think when I first started building the Land and Water brand, I really thought I was going to go and find that solution. There isn't an end solution. Of course, it's ever evolving. So that's the number one thing. The other thing that I think is fascinating about B Corp is that it very much encourages businesses to work together, and to learn from each other. And I know that our head of sustainability, I'm not intimately involved in the process, but I know that she works endlessly with other hotels and other industries as well to share learnings and grow together. So it's not that you're trying to sort of do anything better than anybody else. There really is a real reason for us all to do this together. So I think that's probably the two big learnings I would take away from my experience of trying to build a sustainable brand.
What about if we take you talked about as well that now you have two businesses. You had the letting business and the hotel business. There's similarities, there's trade-offs there in a way, but then you go out and do land and water. What was that made you think we need to do that? What is how do you see that as the extension and a way of growing, the presence of what you're already doing in hospitality in Cornwall?
Well, I mean, the inspiration for Land and Water, as I said, is the fact that, the idea, and it's pretty much a fact, isn't it? I don't think anyone's going to disagree that spending time outside makes you feel better inside. But really, we feel really well placed to create a brand like Land and Water because we have witnessed, not only do we, obviously, we're in a prime position to enjoy the lifestyle ourselves, when we're not in front of a laptop or busy like everyone else. But we not only do we enjoy it ourselves and benefit from it, but we also witness it. And that's really special, is seeing guests coming off the cliffs or off the beach. And then we also have a hotel in the Lake District called Another Place on the shores of Ullswater, which is a separate business. And there also, it doesn't matter where you are. You can be in a park in central London, you could be by a little stream in the countryside. I think just being outside, and it's because we see guests all the time coming in, and that warm glow that emanates from them, that was an utter inspiration to recreate that sense of invigoration. It's the only thing that you can take with you away from Watergate Bay and Another Place in a tangible form. And also I suppose, like I said, we wanted to create a ski resort on a beach with a progressive outlook. So we're always trying to be dynamic, adapt, and change. And we had our own product before, which we loved sitting on our shelves, and we wanted to take that to the next level. We wanted to create a product that could sit comfortably on the shelves of a national retailer, and very much says something about the way that guests might feel when they spend time away, and so we elevated the brand, I guess, to do that. So those were the two reasons that we wanted to do it. One being very much the inspiration, and one more, we can really develop something here. We can take something that says a lot about the way people might feel about the world from environmental ethos, but also from that constant need and desire, and ever more so for that balance between exhilaration and calm, and that invigoration but happy, relaxed feeling that you might get from spending time away.
How has that journey been going into, in principle, retail products, as you said, like going from delivering an experience to now scaling a product in principle, but still with an experience? Because I guess many of the user will have some kind, that's, they want that fix in their busy day life. They, from Cornwall, that just makes you switch out in that moment and actually, have that moment of stillness, if you can say so. But how's that journey been? Because I've been on a similar journey myself, and hospitality is very different from retail. That's been my learning, but that's still similar. There's lots of co-creation. If you have a purpose, then it's easier than if you just want to sell a product.
Absolutely, and I think as developing a business and working towards growing your business as well, I think so much of it is driven by instinct and working with people that you respect and get on well with. And I often liken it to being a little bit like the leader of the orchestra. You're not a professional in any of those realms with which you deal, be it the first violins or the brass section. And if you liken that to business, where you're dealing with PR companies and design and all the different elements of your purpose and your brand, then I get a great sense of joy of literally just unleashing that expertise that comes from other people. As long as I feel a innate sense of confidence in that agency or team that I'm working with, then I am very happy to take their steer and to take their lead. And I think, as I said, as a leader of the orchestra, you provide the heartbeat and the rhythm and the reason for being there in the first place. And then you bring all those elements together and allow their expertise to flourish between them. Then that seems to be, it was some advice I was given by both the directors that I work with here at Watergate Bay, who are very well experienced, and my husband said, always work with people that you like and get on well with. And as Land and Water is a small business, we've chosen to work predominantly with agencies, many of them in Cornwall. The talent is extraordinary, and so going into retailers, going into other, trying to find new hospitality businesses to go into, or working on a piece of design, it doesn't matter what we do, we are surrounded by a really strong level of expertise.
How do you actually, you define this strong purpose, you now translate it into 3 different businesses? How do you actually, translate that into the culture? Because you're touching a bit on there, like getting the right people on around you is key as a business owner. But how you made sure that the purpose is executed, as I call it, or delivered in the way you want to on these businesses on a more philosophic level?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I have the the exact answer to that. I think all I can say is what we've tried to do, and I think that it's, as I said, it comes from the heartbeat, and then you surrounding yourself, and it's the same with people you employ. You employ really good people around you, and you share fun on the way, hard work, yes, but fun on the way. And it's I feel like cultures are often absorbed, and when you open a new restaurant or a new hotel, it's not going to appear overnight, and that culture takes a while to be fostered and to grow. And so I think for me, it's all about absolute clarity about who you are, working with people that you like, and slowly but surely that culture will be, I suppose, it's a process of osmosis almost.
What about if you think about it, like, because now you've gone from 1 business to 2 businesses to 3 businesses, what is your thoughts and approach to growth then, and how are you thinking growth? Because I guess there's some commercial reasons why developing tree business. They have to be commercial viable. But what is the meaning with growth for you, and what does growth mean for your tree businesses?
Again, I think B Corp is very helpful with that. It helps you give a sort of rigor to your purpose, and to make sure that you are considering all stakeholders in your growth. But I think growth comes from your own inspiration, your own gut, and yes, we absolutely have a business strategy. We have business strategies, short term, medium term, long term, and whilst that long term can be not vague, but an idea that could have several different scenarios and options. The short term, what I've learned very recently, actually in the last year, as land and water really begins to take off, is to try and pull together laser-like focus on your strategy, because there are so many, and it's a wonderful position to be in. I wouldn't want to complain for a second. There's opportunities that flood into our inbox every day. And you want to do everything, but you can't. And you've got a budget, and you can't spend more than your budget. And so it's being really focused on what you said you were going to do this year, whilst of course not, cutting off your hand to spite your face, or whatever the expression is. I can't remember the expression, but of course, if a particular opportunity comes up that really warrants a slight diversion from your strategy, well, so be it. But a lot of the time, I am checking in with my co-directors in Watergate Bay, just to say, this opportunity, but I think we need to stick to this, or vice versa. Or they may say to you, great opportunity, Pix, but I think you really need to stick to the strategy here. So it's it can be a really lonely place, I think, trying to lead a business, but we're very lucky in that we have a very experienced and stable senior management team and group of directors, which means that we can bounce those ideas off each other. But yes, I think a strategy, you could develop it for ages, and really for me, it's one big piece of paper, and you can have some boxes. It doesn't need to be the most beautiful designed PDF ever, but as long as you all share that strategy and know what your purpose is, then that's good for us.
Yeah, and I guess also the purpose informs the strategy and how you make decisions in the strategy. That's almost what I hear you saying as well.
And they can inform the tiniest of decisions day to day. And as I said, I'm only just beginning to learn this, because I can easily get distracted by something, and then I think, why am I spending time on this? I should be focusing on our core strategy.
And how long have you spent, because this may be interesting for other business owners, how long have you spent on developing that strategy, or how are you continuously spending energy on that strategy, because it's always emerging, is my guess.
Yeah, and it's so easy not to spend time on it. But we have the rigor of a financial process where we set out our plans for the following year that need to be submitted to our board, and so it's always helpful to have these processes, be it that or as I referred to earlier, your B Corp process, where you need to have things done by a certain time and in a certain format. And so yeah, I think we dedicate time, and I think also conversations like this are really helpful to reflect as well, and to spend time thinking about what really matters to you and what matters to the business. So absolutely having structure around when you do these things. And we would once a year we are redefining our strategy for the following year. We're usually doing that in November, December, January, ready to kickstart again in March. Tends to be our rhythm.
And it's really interesting you already build in like a planning cycle in the business, because that's also many of the people are interviewed here when it comes out to, besides they have clarity and purpose and direction. And the reason why they have is that because they continuously work on the strategy piece, and that they reconnect with purpose, vision, values, beliefs, and all the other things that is centered around strategy. But they spend quite a lot of time actually they one thing is to implement the strategy, but also reflecting on the strategy and actually evolving the strategy and actually always using that as exactly you say, that is what I need to do, that's what we decided to set out to do. And then of course if something comes along that's so good that you need to change the strategy a bit, that's okay, because it came along because you followed the strategy.
Absolutely. And I think all the time as you're developing your future strategy for the coming year, so your short-term strategy, you are at the same time slightly tweaking what you're thinking for 5 years' time at the same time, because it will depend what's happened in the previous years. But yeah, I think so Will has, my husband has, a lot of experience of leading a business, and he always talks about not standing still, and always challenging ourselves, not sitting back and saying, great, we're doing a good job. Yeah, it's nice to say, nice to think that we might be doing a good job, but also to challenge that and what can we do better, and how, because we've got to stay relevant, and I think that's really important, because it's a little like how we look at hotels now. They need to make sense, and you don't walk through the door and find you're almost coming into a personality, and everything needs to have cohesion between it. So that's important to us as well.
What about you build a community of customers again across what you do? Have you seen like spillovers between the brands because they know you are involved? And I could imagine that the land and water would be quite interesting to hear if there's like people that stayed with you in the hotel, and then they want to buy a product because it makes them connected with the place when they're not able to be in Cornwall.
Exactly. Yeah, and then that's absolutely true. And I think when you're nurturing a young brand like Land and Water, you absolutely need to align yourself with other brands, and that's a great advantage for a young brand like Land and Water to be part of a bigger stable of brands, where there are opportunities to align yourselves to those values and those ways of being, and also simply, on a commercial front basis, just to be in front of people, as you said. People can buy Land and Water from the hotels and take it home, and we can talk to our guests about all the different things that we do, including Land and Water. So there's no doubt. But that said, we go out and talk to other brands as well, where we feel we have aligned values, and try and do reciprocal brand partnerships, because it's always nice when another brand talks about you rather than having to talk about yourself. I think it feels most natural to most people, not to be able to shout about other people, other brands, rather than themselves.
And we're going a bit from the inside of the business to looking a bit about like what you think, like hospitality's role, because there's no doubt about hospitality is being redefined with the pandemic and all the other things that happen in the world. How does actually hospitality play a role now, in your view, of making a world a better place? Because I believe there's so many ways hospitality can do that, and we are so well set up for it because we're about hospitality.
I agree with you. I think it's an absolute gift to be in this business, because we really can make a contribution to the balance and well-being of so many people. And that ability to enjoy a holiday is ever more the priority for our guests, which puts a certain amount of pressure on us. And that really was a test, I think, particularly during that first summer of the pandemic, when it can. We've had that culture of Watergate Bay solidified for so long. We know exactly what we are, but suddenly we were slightly tested because guests felt very differently about the pandemic. Some people felt that coming to Cornwall was escaping it, which sadly wasn't true. I wish it had been. And some people were very nervous of coming away. So you have to be very sensitive to those different feelings. And so even the most, and I've heard other hoteliers talk about this as well, even the most experienced staff, particularly a front of house staff, found themselves really tested into how to be again once the industry reopened. So absolutely, I think it's a big challenge, and we're here to help guests make the most of their time away. So it's a real privilege, but also quite a pressure, quite a challenge, and there's numerous levers that you can employ to do that, and a lot of that will be around thinking about what the guests would like to do and offering it to them in a way that feels right for your brand. Some hotels may choose to have, sort of leaflets or something like that on arrival. Other brands, that doesn't make sense to them. They don't want that clutter in their space. It's all about the pre-arrival email and talking to them. What can we do to enhance your stay? And I think we got a little flavor of that, well, not a little flavor, a big flavor of how to do that in the pandemic, because we suddenly had to book times in our swimming pool. We couldn't have more than one family in the pool at any given time. So we suddenly had to, already start doing that really from a health and safety point of view at that time. But I think now people are very anxious to make sure that they enjoy their time away to the best of their ability. And we have to nurture that in a way that feels right for us. And that will be different for every hospitality business. Just like it would be that, if you came to my home, I would host you in a different way than another friend would.
Yeah. It's also very interesting when you say that's the role, and then you look at the challenges not only general businesses have right now after a pandemic, and now whatever we call what we're going into recession / a huge change of combined with Brexit on top. And it really has impact on. And you're really brave. You have 3 businesses. So what do you see are the biggest challenges for businesses to be able to deliver, in the hospitality, those experiences, or just great products?
Yeah, I think in terms of the hospitality industry, we have all the problems that you would, all the challenges that you would expect. But what I really value about these challenges, and I think other businesses have felt this as well, is that when you have a challenge thrown at you, it can feel a little daunting to begin with, but actually once you've absorbed it and talked about it, the positivity that comes out of that and changing the way you do things completely overcomes that negativity in the first place. So you find you actually do things better than you did before because of that challenge. So whilst a pandemic is not welcome, challenges are. And so I think we found various ways to alleviate the recruitment issues. And then in a small brand like Land and Water, there are obvious challenges like in terms of growth for us, just because it's right at the top of my mind at the moment. We're beginning to export internationally. And when you're a team of 3 with, yes, we work with some fantastic design teams beyond that as well, that's hugely challenging to ship to Hong Kong, to ship outside of into Europe. And so if that process could just be like shipping within the UK, I'd love someone to solve that. But that's just a small example of what's right in front of me at the moment. And that essentially that's around processes. It's not the fact you can't do it. Yes, it's expensive. Everything's expensive at the moment. Another challenge. But it's quite painful. And I wouldn't profess to be able to tell you, whether Brexit or whatever is the cause of that, and all the additional hygiene rules and quite rightly the health and safety rules that we have around that. But it's difficult to negotiate, and as a small brand, it's really challenging from a cost point of view as well. I know that other businesses I've talked to, interestingly, again, small businesses, much smaller than ours, I think that's a real one of the pressures is trading terms, payment terms. So if they're not being paid for 60, 80 days, then they can't pay their suppliers. So that knock-on effect is really hard. And of course, that doesn't really touch bigger businesses in the same way that it touched smaller businesses.
No, again, because that's you also have close relationships, and of course you want to pay on time, because you would appreciate that yourself as a small business, where a big business has other means or other terms they can play at. And I think that's also something I've heard. Like, it's the disappointments you have to give to other people, even though if you want to do the right thing, you can't, either because the cash hasn't arrived in your account yet, or you can't deliver what you promised because you can't get the resources or the products or whatever it is. I hear that all the time as well. Um, but if anyone out there know anything about that, they should definitely reach out. I think if they know how to help you with the shipping bit international, if there's
Yeah,
somebody
yeah.
listening into the show, then they're more than welcome to reach out, I'm sure. What has been, you just mentioned yourself, you've gone through the pandemic, it's challenging right now in business, but what has been, most significant learning for you as a human, but also business leader? Because we all take something away from this. This is what I feel when I talk with people. There's like a learning in this. You talked about before, challenges makes you better. Obstacle is the way is another way to phrase it. But what have you been your own learnings and over the three businesses you're involved in?
I think it's pretty simple, Michael. I think it's just to trust your instincts, and when you don't, then you wish you had. um, and as I said before, working with people with whom you get on well, and you really feel are part of your team. Um, but yeah, I'm flattered that you asked me for my opinion. I don't feel overly well qualified to answer, but other than I go a lot on gut instinct and trust that as much as I can.
What are you most excited about right now? When you see the years ahead of you. Well, it sounds like you have really good speed on the new Land and Water brand, and there's a lot's happening there. But what else excites you right now?
So I think I can tell you what excites me about next 2 weeks, uh, which is Land and Water, which is going to the Independent Hotel Show for the first time. We'll be exhibiting there, so it's really great, the relationships and partnerships we're building up in the hospitality industry, and we're really pleased that we seem to be striking such a chord with general managers and decision makers within that industry. And this is our first move into being active towards seeking new partnerships and supplying land and water. So, and many of the partners that we work with, we talked about ethos earlier, they talk about how they were drawn to our ethos reflecting their own. So it feels really right to be going. And that's one of the reasons I'm so excited, is I think we'll have a lot of great conversations there. But in terms of the business as a whole, we have a very long-term strategy, 10 years ahead of us, which has lots of exciting things in the pipeline. And I think what really excites me is, I guess, just seeing those come to fruition as they will. I'm sure they'll be something completely different to what we think they are now. Not completely, but they will be different, because you always start out with plan A, and then there's plan B and plan C, and things naturally evolve because of the way the world is, or the way you've adapted something, or the way you want to be. But yeah, I think there's lots in the pipeline to keep us keep us busy, and taking land and water and seeing how it fits into all those different parts. We sell direct to consumers through our own website. We work, as I said, very closely now with the hospitality industry and growing that really rapidly. And then also we're beginning to be placed in a number of retailers, both nationally and internationally as well. So that's exciting.
Yeah, and I think it's very inspiring as well to hear you talk about your 10-year plan you have across, because lots of businesses work for 3 5 years, and I know you say it can be a bit blurry what out there in 10 years, but actually you're setting the intent. And often what happens, that's what I've learned from other business I interviewed here on the show, is that when you set that intent and have that picture of the future, you actually find out, of course you need to focus on what's right in front of you, but actually somehow it evolves over that decade, and people will be surprised where they can get done in a decade. if you have a
Absolutely.
picture of about where you want it to end.
Yeah. And it's really useful. We refer to it all the time, and it just hones your thoughts and your ideas, and it really keeps a big picture, because it's a vision that we all share and that we've all talked about, and so that's very useful, I think.
What about you, Pix? Because every time I talk with you, you have this like, zen energy over that energy of like, we're just doing it, we're just trekking along. How do you make sure you're in the impact zone and keep yourself there?
I'm not brilliant at finding my life balance, it has to be said. But I am beginning to get better at it. In terms of, showing up every day, and having a sort of certain vibe that you want to project. I don't think I consciously think of that. I am married to the most positive man in the UK, if that helps. He just breeds positivity around him, which is very addictive. But I think I just try to be philosophical. I am definitely much better at being philosophical now. Things can really get under your skin. Things can get under your team's skin as well. And I'm beginning to say, you know what, big picture, this is not a big deal. We'll work that out, or we'll have to deal with it like that. But it's very easy to get caught up in one nitty gritty thing. But there's no doubt, in terms of Land and Water, is in a real, I need to be right in it at the moment. So I'm doing strategy as well as a lot of legwork. And so that consumes a lot of time. But I have quite a philosophical outlook on that. And as I said, I'm getting better at, defining times when I'm working, and defining times when I'm not. But I'm not a master of it.
Well, also it's very hard when you live your purpose, I guess, and that's what I hear from others as well. It's like almost that you have to restrain yourself to have enough energy to go out and do it tomorrow again as well. And it's not like oh, I have to, but it's like I really want to, because I think that's what I feel for many people is really living their purpose and can see it unfold, as you talked about before.
I think age helps.
Yeah, wisdom. Wisdom. You can
I'm not
never...
ancient, but I'm definitely, I think I sort of, in my 20s, that there were times in my 20s where I worked too hard, and I think age helps you become more philosophical and just be able to put things in perspective.
Where can people find out more about what you're doing across the 3 businesses, and where can they connect with you? If they want to, they can come and see you at the Independent Hotel Show in London. I guess
that would be so nice. Yeah. That's in London. It's the 4th to 5th of October at Olympia. That would be amazing. But also on I have my own profile and Land and Water's profile on LinkedIn and on Instagram. And of course via our website at Land and Water. So I'd be delighted to hear from anyone that's listening, even if it's just to chew the cud.
Thank you so much, Pix, for coming on, talking about purpose and how you have developed that across the 3 different businesses and brands, and how you are living it, and actually how you're actually trying to scale a business and a story a different way than you normally would think about it.
Thank you very much. I really enjoyed talking to you. Thanks, Michael.
Thank you so much, Pix, for sharing how you are using a shared purpose to build businesses that does more than making just great results. They also have a positive impact on people, society, and the planet. Now you should ask yourself, how can we use purpose to scale our business? And if you want to learn more about how to scale your business through purpose, tune in to episode number 160 with Paul Hargreaves, founder and CEO of Cornwall Fair, on B Corps and being a force for good. A huge thank you to BizSimply for supporting us, bringing great insights, strategies, and tools to help leaders to become better every day. Check them out at bizsimply.com or via their socials at BizSimply or BizSimplyHQ. You can also email them directly at podcast@bizsimply.com. Big thank you to Fina Charlson, who's the show producer and editor for the Podcast Collective. I really appreciate that you're listening in. So if you enjoyed today's conversation, please share, rate, or review, or subscribe to one of our channels, which all can be done via the website hospitalitymavericks.com. And also, if you have any feedback for the show on thoughts on how we can do better, reach out to me on LinkedIn or via my email, michael@hospitalitymavericks.com. Find out more about us and subscribe to the weekly newsletter Maverick Talk via hospitalitymavericks.com. And remember to get your free version of the new white paper, The 6 Tenants of Agile Hospitality. 6 tenants every leader needs to survive and thrive in the new era of hospitality. Click the link in the show notes and get your copy. I'm Michael Tingsam, and you've been listening to the Hospitality Maverick podcast show. Be Maverick.